in one room, because when there's a maternity ward, and the doctors and the nurses kind of bop from one room to the next because they're taking care of multiples, and you never know when the baby's going to be delivered. So in walks my happy doctor and my happy nurse, and hey, how's everything going? How exciting! This is the big day. And then they're walking into a room and aborting children alive. Am I understanding this right?
Yes, oftentimes the same-age children, oftentimes in a hospital that is a level 3 that is geared to help very sick kids or very premature kids.
Okay, hold it. This is what
right.
I can't understand. It almost seems like we're dealing with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Actually, I've never heard that said quite that way, but that's very true, Todd. You know, I always say that this just points out the schizophrenia involved in abortion, but I think you've really painted a good word picture there.
How well? I mean, and it's given me the creeps because they're all so warm and nice and trying to make everything lovely and comfortable, and then they're down the hall putting an alive child on top of the washing machine to die.
Well, it gets creepier in that after Allison and I testified in Washington about these babies being left to die in soiled utility rooms, Christ Hospital in December of 2000 it created a comfort room. So no longer could I say that they were taking babies to the soiled utility room to die. They now took these babies to a comfort room.
Ah, yes.
And this is a small, nicely decorated room, complete with a first photo machine in case parents would like to have professional pictures taken of their aborted babies, baptismal supplies in case they'd like to have their aborted babies baptized, and a footprinter and baby bracelets in case they'd like to have those keepsakes of their aborted babies. And, of course, there's a rocking chair in the corner to rock these babies to death. But the human mind, you know, we listen about stories of the Holocaust, and we can't believe it, and the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement, and just incredible stories throughout history of mankind being so not just unkind to mankind, other people, but just torturing and killing them. And we wonder, how could that have happened? And we are living in those times right now, Todd.
You are in the hospital, you're in the maternity ward, you're delivering babies, and then in other rooms people are aborting babies, and sometimes you are left to hold them as they died. And then because of the heat that you put on them by exposing some of this, appearing before Congress in Washington, they wanted to make sure that people didn't think they were being horrible ogres and allowing children to die in the soiled utility room. So they built a comfort room with a rocking chair with a professional photographer so they can have a picture of them and their, I presume, dead child. And also a baptismal font. Now, I think I understand my Lutheran theology well enough to understand that the reason that they baptize infants is because they believe then that the child will go to heaven. If they want to baptize the child so that it will go to heaven, isn't that kind of an admission that it is actually a human being with a soul that they have just killed?
Well, the mission statement on the front of the hospital when you go through the front door says in part, all human beings are created in the image of God. So they do acknowledge that they know exactly who they are killing. There's no excuse.
So you're at the hospital, and I recall you telling the story about an abortion that was where they were going to practice this procedure where the children had the potential, that wasn't the hope, but the potential of being born alive, and it was 2 doctors that made the decision to do this.
Yes, a nurse coworker told me about an abortion that she was involved with where the baby was supposed to be aborted who had spina bifida. And when the baby came out, the baby was perfectly fine. And what happened was there was an incomplete twin in the placenta. And on ultrasound, this incomplete twin looked like a mass on his brother's back, or spina bifida, but his brother was actually completely fine. And the parents who were aborting this little guy were both doctors. And my friend said that the dad came into the soiled utility room after what he thought was the abortion of his handicapped son he'd just given permission for, and saw that he had just given permission to abort his completely healthy boy. And she said he didn't say a word. He turned and left the room silently. And I find that incident particularly poignant. It really tears at my heart because it points out that abortion just doesn't kill children. And abortion just doesn't maim and kill our girls and women, but abortion has a profound impact on men too.
Not to mention it's a sin. Until tomorrow, go serve your king.
In your name, you took the blind man, and you gave him back his sight. In your name, you took the dead man, and you brought him back to life. In your name, you took this prisoner, and you opened